Good afternoon. My name is Walt Walney, and I'm with Hurricane Electric. And I'm very pleased to be here again in Sao Paulo after being away for a couple years. So who am I? It's very important to know the person that is giving talks so that you can get an understanding of what they do and where they came from. I've been with Hurricane Electric now almost 5 years. I just finished up my 4th year this year. And we are now expanded into 44 countries and over 223 internet exchanges globally. My focus is on global connectivity, expanding into new markets, and just trying to make the world a better place as far as internet connectivity goes. Prior to Hurricane Electric, I was with Amazon for 4 years. My sole focus was Asia-Pac, working on Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, India, Taiwan, and the Philippines. And with Amazon, we deployed over 62 new CDN sites and locations. Prior to that, I was with Microsoft for 13 years, focused on connectivity in Europe, US, and South America. Hurricane Electric or Backbone. This is a snapshot. We average about 5 new countries a year. That's been the case for the last 4 years that I've been with Hurricane. We are the ISP that is connected to the most internet exchanges in the world. Cloudflare, unfortunately, from time to time surpasses us, but we actually build a backbone and not a CDN. So my friend Tom Paseka and I have a constant back and forth and who has more internet exchanges connected. And unfortunately, right now, Tom's got me by a few. So a question I'm always asked is, why is Hurricane on so many internet exchanges? The answer is quite simple. The more exchanges that we're on means that the more unique ASs we have connected to us, and therefore our services perform better. At last count, we had over 7,800 unique ASNs connected. That's not total BGP sessions, that's unique ASs. So before we start talking about security, there's a few things I want to go over. We all live in glass houses. We all make mistakes, and we shouldn't throw stones. So before you throw a stone, let's offer to help your neighbor to become better at security, filtering, or whatever the issue may be. I'm going to say it again. We all live in glass houses. Check. So we all live in glass houses. Let's do what we can to make this society and the community better. So what does security have to do with peering? Right now, a lot. Security was an afterthought for many of the companies I worked for prior. None of them were doing filtering of any sorts. But as you know, over the last few years, hijacks have become more often, and it's caused a lot more problems. So let's dive into some of the basics. The best defense of your network is logical port security, IX subnet security, routing security, and some other tools. Many IXPs will post their recommended port configurations online. I would recommend highly that we take advantage of those and use those on our network. We don't want to just connect our port raw to an exchange, because that'll become a problem for not only ourselves, but everyone that's connected to the internet exchange. Services like proxy ARP will disrupt that IX extremely. Most IXPs allow for unicast traffic, but we need to also filter them as well. Applying ACLs, pretty basic stuff. The Seattle 6 Internet Exchange has great examples. Your IX port is an exposed piece of the network, and there's hundreds of other networks that are on that internet exchange. So let's remove the security risk. So why do we care? Right? It's not that long ago where there was an impact on AM6 that lasted for 1 hour and 30 minutes. This is just in 2017. Root cause was human error. The instability was caused that a new port was being tested, and then after that test was completed and removed out of the quarantine LAN, the operator enabled proxy ARP again, and the port was moved back into production, causing impact for over 1.5 hours. In Japan as well, Another example, proxy ARP was enabled, and root cause is human error. So it's my request to all the internet exchange operators that if you have and see a proxy ARP, that you disable the customer's port, and so we can allow them to fix the problem without risking everyone else on the exchange. As you know, your IX port is a large target for DDoS attacks. Applying the best security practices will help eliminate the exposure. It is IXP service provider that's responsible for protecting the infrastructure. The IX LAN should not be routed. It's not your IXP space. So if you check this, using one of my own IP addresses from Japan, you can see it right here, and this is on the JPNAP. So I put the IP address inside of bgp.he.net, and unfortunately, there are 3 networks that are carrying that block. The question is why? Sloppiness, don't care. Whenever I find this for my network, I always contact the service provider to say, hey, you know, you're leaking the IXP space. So, as you know, it's not your IP space, it should not be routed. So let's take a look at Europe and let's see how they're doing. Some of the smaller guys. The red ones mean that the space is being routed at this time. The green ones means it's not. So I would challenge you, and since I'm in the host country of South America, I don't want to call it anyone's, but please take the time and look at your local IXPs as well. So let's look at some of the big guys. You would think we'd be a little tighter with the configuration and change control, right? Unfortunately, no. Every single one of them, as of a week ago, were allowing the subnet space to be routed by some of their members. There is a tool that's out there right now, BGPmon, that will help you identify and be notified when a leak or a misadvertised route is happening. Here's a screenshot from the Seattle 6, and you can see that they get emails whenever this occurs quite quickly. And so you can contact the offending member and have them tighten up the policy. And BGPmon's going out of service next year, but here's a replacement that's already coming out, and that's thanks to Job and Massimo from NTT. Thank you, guys. So why do we care? Should we care? So back in 2013, the DDoS that broke the internet, Cloudflare's subnet was being routed by another provider, and it ended up with a 120 gigabit attack plus on the links. And this actually had severe impact and actually took down quite a few neighbors. So basic routing security. We must filter our peers. Most big networks don't filter their peers at all. And we know that from what we've seen today, this is negligent behavior. This is very interesting. So a /24 was being hijacked by China Telecom, and this had impact throughout the US. This problem lasted for 6 days, and some of the larger ISPs and transit providers carried this leak. Again, not throwing stones, it's just we all need to be aware that there are problems and there's things that we need to do to fix things. Another similar thing is a hijack from Iran. And if you go to bgpstream.com, you can actually see that there's ongoing hijacks, several a day. When I started looking into this a few years ago, I really didn't realize how many there were actually happening. It is quite staggering. So I know we can do better. We must filter our peers, and when I mean we all, I mean Hurricane Electric as well. So routing security is important in 2 different directions, the routes you receive and the routes you announce. Starting with the routes you receive, there are several ways we can do this. Prefix counts, ASPath, prefix list, and RPKI. So if I can get a show of hands, how many people are just doing prefix count right now as a way to filter? Nobody. Oh, there's a couple. Yeah, so the whole point is that today we're at location X as far as security goes. And it's my hope that this year you try to do one better. So with prefix count, consider tightening up your limits. When I was with both Microsoft and Amazon, we only did prefix counts, and we set every peer that was a little peer to 20,000. And any peer that was over 50,000, there was a custom route map. But by default, we would accept pretty much everything they would do. I know both of those companies are working on changes right now, and I'm looking forward to sharing the good results in the future. AS path, Hurricane Electric's in Japan, and we get a couple emails a day with announcements from all the different exchange participants of their AS path update. This is a very good second step. One step better is prefix per neighbor. So this is the neighbor, and this is the routes we'll accept. Who's doing this right now? Who's doing prefix lists? Awesome, thanks guys. So, as we all know that we're all moving to RPKI, and unfortunately not every single router today will support RPKI. I know that in South America, Microtech is one of the larger routers, the larger deployment of routers that is being used today. So with that being said, building filters doesn't have to be hard. As the talk or two ago, a gentleman also showed that BGP Q3 is a very simple tool that you can use to start to filter. So, like I said earlier, is that wherever you are today, please take the time and try to do just a little bit better next time. So if you can go to prefix filtering, that's a great step until you get RPKI or your platform supports RPKI. Some IXPs that are using RPKI, our local exchange, thanks guys, and several other. There's over 58 today that are using it, and I know there's more going and growing each day. A little point on it is that a lot of networks just like to peer with a route server. How many networks only peer with route servers? So Hurricane Electric and others, like Apple and a few others, don't peer with route servers. So you need to build a bilateral session with them. So in those cases, if you want to get all the routes from Hurricane Electric, it's important to have a bilateral session with me. Who here today peers with Hurricane Electric? A little known fact is that about 2 years ago, we started strictly filtering our peers with prefix lists. So I'm going to show you what you can expect when you can go to this website, routing.hea.net, so you can actually take a look and look for yourselves what routes we're installing. So here's a screenshot. I choose to pick on Cloudflare because they're my friends and they help me build slide decks by providing data. So the very first thing you see is that we use peeringdb.com to pull out Cloudflare. What? I skipped. Oh, excellent. Another key thing is that we can see both the IPv4 and IPv6 AS set, and you can see the source is peeringdb. You can see dang it, laser. You can see that the other information as well is when this filter was updated. It typically updates every 24 hours, so I would recommend you log in and take a look at that. Diving forward a little bit, this shows that Tom actually advertised a block that he did not own, and you can see that it is external and filtered right here. So thanks, Tom, for doing that for this slide deck. And you see it's China Mobile. And here's more about the routing algorithm. So if you peer with Hurricane Electric, please go ahead and take a time to verify that we're installing all your routes. And if you see something you don't believe should be filtered, please just drop an email to knock@he.net. Here's a list of my resources, and thanks for having me. I'm just really happy to be back again. Any questions?
Hello, Walt. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. John Brown from the U.S. I'm just curious. I'm asking this question more for the audience than for myself because I think I know the answer already, but how do you see the importance of participants at an IX making sure that information inside of a route registry, an IRR, is a useful and productive thing to help stability?
Well, as we know, if we can't trust the source of the route, we're going to drop it. So, as you know, you guys have to be in control of your own destiny. We actually, when we rolled this out, we actually noticed no traffic drop at all. We did over about a 2-month time, but it was a very smooth, unsurprising event.
So do you trust the route registries, Merit, or any of the other registries?
We use several. RadDB is one of them, but we use several to verify, so we do a merge across both of them.
Okay.
So we do double verification.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Not allowed. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Ayub from NovaCorp. Do you see the adoption of route servers as a safer option specifically for the smaller ISPs? Because the route server is managed by the NOC of the IXP, and they can, as a central point, they can implement more filters or help to mitigate these human errors?
So that's a very interesting question, and there's 2 answers I like to give. If I was a smaller ISP, I would use that as a stepping stone. For example, at Hurricane Electric, when we join a new exchange, we join the route server just so that we get instant value in routes, but we only advertise like about 20% of our routes to it. The reason why is because for me to be successful, I need to have
Yeah, okay. What is your...
Here with me? Yes. So the bi-directional...
The mic.
Yeah.
The bi-directional communication between 2 networks is gold, because whenever I have a problem, I can come talk to my friend directly. The route server, hi route server, there's no response. So build the bilaterals, take the time to build a relationship with someone, because as you progress in your career, the relationships you build in the peering world go with you. So let's say you go to Amazon or some other large telco.
It goes with you.
Your relationships go with you. And as you know, I'm going to make fun of myself. In 2001, I went to my very first NANOG. I talked a little bit of smack, and the room, you know, there's thousands of people, but everyone knows everyone. And all of a sudden, Bob comes over and says, "Hey, Walt, what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, I don't know." So be very nice, always be gracious, and build your relationships, because that's your paycheck.
Thank you.
Yes, maybe I can add some of your talk. So basically, first time I went to the US about 15 years ago, and I did not know anyone in the US, so I knew Walt, a bunch of people, and in 5 years, with the help of these guys, with all the community, I was able to build one of the top 100 ISP in the world, just because of relationship of people. So it's really important to walk away and to see other people and to build relationships. This is how we grow in the industry.
Let me add on to that. That's to the original topic, is that just be nice and help. It's in my nature to tackle problems super aggressively, but that's not always the right approach. So if you have a friend or someone's like new in the area, take the time to show them out, because network is not only bits, it's the personality relationships. I think I hammered on that enough. Did you have a question, my friend?
So, Raphael from France. No, mostly about the point about the export of the prefix of the IXP. I think I never saw a presentation anywhere in the world about what exactly are the risks. Should be good to that, because last month we had a 1.2 terabit attacks, DDoS attacks, and 600 gig was because of this. So I think it would be good at some point that someone takes the points and write a real presentation about what are the risks and why we're exposed. So if we can talk about this, maybe if you can.
I'd like to talk to you more about it, but you know, again, it's the challenge is that most IXs, and Seattle 6 and Chris computed an amazing job, is you need to protect your infrastructure. even when you have customers that are not responsive. So in my view, not that of Hurricane Electric, if they're advertising blocks, they shouldn't be, their port should be shut off. But people would say that's heavy-handed, but at times you need to have a heavy hand to protect what's important.
Yeah, so maybe it's a good idea, I think, to write a presentation or kind of RFC, so all the exchange points can send it to their members or new members, so they can apply this.
I agree 100%. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.